Welcome, everybody. It's indeed an honor for the University of South Carolina to be participating in the American release of the Encyclopedia of Hinduism, the international edition of the Encyclopedia of Hinduism. This is a project that has been conceived of, and you will hear from the originator and the conceiver of it in a few moments. Our most deeply and respected guest, Swamiji, over 20 years ago, when his thought was that it was no comprehensive encyclopedic place where students and people of the world could learn about the world's most ancient tradition, not about how to convert to it, but how to deepen their own spiritual journeys and how to bring deeper understanding. Under John Palms, this university offered some infrastructure, some space, some resources. As the encyclopedia was progressing, there were times, I am told, when there was doubt that it ever would be completed. There was consideration to abbreviating it, not making it so encyclopedic, but making it more abbreviated or a summary, 1 volume or 2 volumes. But the scholars and the donors who participated and the spiritual leader said that must not be. So we stand here before you in celebration and in awe in 2013, now to unveil, as we did a few minutes ago, an 11-volume Encyclopedia of Hinduism. You will also hear in a few moments from Dr. Robert Cox from the Walker Institute that the University of South Carolina is declaring for ourselves this year a year of deep study of the people, the cultures, the educational resources, and the impact of this great nation, the world's largest democracy, India, and we're calling that Carol India. So it's a very auspicious day today. The skies are blue. We've had distinguished visitors from all over the world. After a few more comments about the encyclopedia itself and about Carol India, we'll be prepared to take your questions. I believe now it's time for Sadhviji and then Swamiji to also make some comments. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prestidas. It's a wonderful honor and a wonderful joy to be here. The project, as Dr. Prestidas mentioned, has been 25 years in the making. From the time of its inception and conception by Puja Swamiji, with a relatively new Indian population of professionals living here and making America their home, and sending their children to school here in a country where questioning is not only tolerated but is encouraged. And when you had such a population of children coming home with questions about their ancient culture, about their timeless heritage, and when you see that that heritage and that culture is one as vast and as multifaceted as Hinduism, where there really isn't any right answer. There isn't really any one way. There's nothing in Hinduism that says, thou shalt worship God by this name, or thou shalt worship God in this way. So when you have a culture like that, and then you have children in a country where they're being encouraged to question, encouraged to seek, the importance of really encapsulating the ancient and timeless wisdom and culture into a form that was accessible to them and meaningful to them and available to them in a modern English Western way became so obviously apparent to Puja Swamiji. One of the reasons that the project has taken so long, and one of the reasons that it really was an encyclopedic effort, not just the production of an encyclopedia, is that it began at a time prior to when people were using computers for everything. So the vast majority of the articles were actually handwritten by scholars who were not just people at various universities abroad who had gotten a master's degree in comparative religions, but people who were steeped in the tradition, who lived it, who breathed it. And for many of them, their tongue was the original tongue in which various scriptures or commentary had been written, whether it was Sanskrit, whether it was Bengali, whether it was Tamil, whether it was Hindi. And so you had these brilliant scholars handwriting articles in their native tongues that then had to be not only translated, then typeset. And that's where the incredible process of the editing, both substance and copy, became such a monumental task. Here we are today, as I mentioned inside, having come full circle. If you believe in the law of karma, if you believe in destiny, you will believe that the Encyclopedia of Hinduism and the University of South Carolina are definitely karmically linked. There is no coincidence in the fact that this is the university that not only provided the infrastructure and the support with which to grow the project, but that now, under a completely new administration, voluntarily and with such depth of love and sincerity, requested to host, to organize the launch of this great work. So it's a wonderful, wonderful day. The last point I want to mention is one that was mentioned inside, which is the distinction between a Hindu encyclopedia, which would be an encyclopedia by Hindus for Hindus, and an encyclopedia of Hinduism, which is something that is for all. As Puja Swamiji always says, Hinduism and Indian culture have no boundaries and no borders. They are applicable to all, meaningful for all. That wisdom, those truths, those insights. If you're a Jew, they make you a better Jew. If you're a Christian, they make you a better Christian. If you're a Muslim, they make you a better Muslim. So it's not a text by Hindus for Hindus. Rather, it is a compilation, an encapsulation of wisdom and teachings and insights that benefit everyone, regardless of their personal culture or country or color or language. It's a wonderful honor to request Puja Swamiji, who is not only one of India's most beloved and respected spiritual leaders and the head of one of India's largest spiritual institutions, Parmarth Niketan, but who is also the founder, the inspirer, the conceiver, you could even say the mother in that way, of the Encyclopedia of Hinduism. And it really was his vision from day one and his deep faith in that which he calls his divine insurance company every day along the way, that even though, as Dr. Prastidas mentioned, people said, oh, too much, let's do one volume, let's do 2 volumes, let's make a dictionary, not an encyclopedia. As people came up with so many different possible shortcuts, Puja Swamiji's divine insurance company just kept telling him, don't worry, go ahead, it all will manifest in its full and perfect form. And that's what we're witnessing today. So it's a great honor to request Puja Swamiji now to share his words and his insights with you.
I was very little, only 8, when I left my family and went to the caves in the jungle and the mountains. I met so many seers, sages, had everything in their lives. Some were from the judiciary, some were from administration, from IT, and they all were there in the jungle, discussing, sharing with each other these basic truths, timeless truths. And I was listening all the time to them. That we are all one. We are all one family. Then about that how we can not tolerate each other, we can accept each other. because we are one family. In family, sometimes people are tolerating, but there is a one family. When you meet on that level, you don't have to tolerate each other. You have to accept with open arms, with inclusiveness, not with exclusiveness. And all of that, yoga, meditation, Ayurveda, vegetarianism, ahimsa, non-violence, so many aspects were being discussed sitting in the jungle. And one thing I came to know from them, that yoga is not that what you do. Yoga is what you are. It's not taking your arms to the legs. But yoga, real yoga is that when you take your hands and reach the humanity without any barriers and boundaries of caste, creed, and color. That made me conscious, aware. Wow, great. And then they said, you know what? We are sitting in the jungle, but we can give the answer to the world. If all world become vegetarian, there will be no problem in the world. Everybody will be having enough and plenty food and so many other things. And medical world has done amazing thing, amazing. Taken the challenge and solved the challenges. But they said there are other ways also, alternative things that you can heal the world and help the world. All of that, listening, and then came out of the jungle, learned so much about this culture. And when it came to me, the first thing, we are one family. And in Indian tradition is, if there is a good thing in the family, something is juicy, which can make your life juicy. And all those kind of things. I was listening. I said, why not all of that take to the world? Because we are one. And it's Indian tradition. Whatever is best, share with all. And that's what we are today. Whatever is best, whatever is there to share with all. And here in this university today, through the Encyclopedia of Hinduism, we are sharing this timeless and universal truths, insights, wisdom to all. And last, which I want to share, that this encyclopedia is not to promote Hinduism. It's not to convert anybody. As Sadhviji said, that if you are a Hindu, become a better Hindu. If you are a Jew, become a better Jewish. If you are a Muslim, become a better Muslim. And above that, become a better human being. That's what is needed today. And to share all of that, what was learned there and what was needed and what is needed today, we all are here. And thank you. And you are the one. We have done our responsibility. As a MSR, I have heard a term CSR, corporate social responsibility. Now there is a term MSR, media social responsibility. How you take the message to the world and make a world a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pastides. It's my pleasure to announce that the University of South Carolina is going to spend the rest of the year focusing on India. Today's activities are basically the first in a long series of events. And as Buddha Swamiji said, if the project, the Encyclopedia of Hinduism, is designed to raise awareness, what we want to do for the rest of the year is raise awareness about India. So what we have planned is a series of programming that's going to take place across the different aspects of the university. We're going to focus on film. We're going to focus on food, dance, current events that are taking place in India, discussions of public policy issues, discussions of India's foreign policy and place in the world. So the idea is that by the end of the year, our students, our faculty, and our community, because as a public university we're aware that we are a resource to the community and we strive very hard to fulfill that mission. We want the Midlands area to know that India is important and how important it is. We also want, as part of this project, to raise awareness of the contributions made by people of Indian heritage, not just in India, but around the world, because there are Indians living in every part of the world, including South Carolina, making valuable contributions. We want that to be known. We want them to tell their stories about the contributions that they make within our communities. So we're looking forward to the programming. Please participate in some of our activities, get to know the country better, get to know Indians who live here in South Carolina better. Thank you very much for being a part of this.
We'd be happy to take questions from the media if you have them.
Dr. Pastides, we do have some additional folks who may participate in that Q&A, some of our scholars, Hal French. And
Three
also
people to introduce. Professor Hal French, Distinguished Professor Emeritus of Religious Studies, one of the associate editors and one of the original contributors. I don't know how original, but he goes way back. One of the original contributors to the encyclopedia. Professor Mira Narasimhan, who is the chairperson within our School of Medicine of our Department of Psychiatry and Neuropsychiatry, without whose outstanding efforts this event could never have taken place. And Ms. Bhavna Vasudeva, who is a graduate, an alumna of our university, who is a major friend of the university and a contributor, and also the co-chair, along with Professor Cox, of the Carolindia celebration. And my wife, the First Lady, Patricia Moore Pastides, who is at our side all the time. So we can all be available for any questions you may have.
And also Rahul.
Yes, we have as well the publisher, Mandala Press, who is the publisher, the stalwart publisher of the Encyclopedia of Hinduism. So if there are any questions about distribution or volumes or anything like that, he is with us as well.
So we'll open it up for questions.
Just can you speak to us about what this means to the university, Dr. Pastides, as far as the importance of the series of encyclopedias?
Well, let me start with the fact that as a state, South Carolina is becoming more globally engaged. It was not always that way, but certainly now from the point of view of our place in the world, it's important for our students in particular to spend some time studying abroad, to get to know other cultures. It's easy to say the world is a smaller place, but of course it is not any smaller, but it is more concentrated. And we want our students to be familiar with one of the world's great religions, of course, and one of its great countries, and a great friend to the United States as well. The encyclopedia will be prominent in our libraries. I don't know exactly how many entire sets we will need, but I think the answer is many. You cannot have an encyclopedia remote from where people are. There are also, I think, plans to digitize eventually the encyclopedia. It will never be quite as beautiful as the illustrations and the text in the book, but we will promote the encyclopedia to our students. And again, for our university that is here in an increasingly global city and state, again, a deep honor to have been part of the event.
Can you explain for those of us who are not Hindu why this is so important? Why does this, it took so long, why it seems so critical?
It's a question upon which an entire separate encyclopedia could be written, but let me try to be as succinct as possible in sort of bullet point thinking. It's important from a perspective of the fact that we now live in a world with no borders and no boundaries. So even if Hinduism in India weren't, as it actually is, a culture and country that, as Puja Swamiji always says, in any case is boundaryless and borderless, nonetheless, as you know better than anybody as the media, the world now doesn't have borders and boundaries. That which is happening in Egypt is just as real and just as pertinent to our daily lives as that which is happening down the block. And so we no longer can afford on any level to not be as deeply educated as we can be about the world's traditions and about the world's cultures. On another level, so much of that which we are seeing in our world today actually has direct relevance to the Hindu and Indian tradition. if you go back to the volumes and volumes of scriptures referred to as the Vedas, you've got information and details on every aspect of life, ranging from music to science to medicine to natural law, that today we're starting to see scientists, quote unquote, discover. So there is a very deep connection to that which has been written about, taught, spoken, and encompassed in the Hindu and Indian tradition that bears direct relevance to current science, technology, medicine today. On a third and, for now at least, last level, moving slightly theologically, the Indian tradition, and this is, I think, where the basis upon which Puja Swamiji says it makes you a better Jew if you're Jewish, a better Christian if you're Christian, is that the tradition is really founded upon a few basic principles, each of which would bring great peace, understanding, harmony, positivity, light to our world where we are today, whether it's concepts of Vasudev Kutumbakam, the world is one family, whether it's concepts of let the noble truths come from all directions, whether it's concepts of worshiping, literally praying to and praying for our natural environment, the rivers, the mountains, the trees, the flowers. Even if you just look at tiny isolated aspects like this, we can realize, well, God, what a difference it would make to our world if every one of us really took in and embodied the concept of worshiping our natural environment, of the fact that the divine not only lives in the temple, but actually pervades everything in the universe. So, and if we take into our minds the idea that the world is our family, if we allow into our hearts the idea that all of the noble truths are equally valuable from whichever direction they may come, just these few little concepts would have huge implications in our world. So on short bullet point thoughts, I'll leave you with that. But of course, as I said, that would be an encyclopedic topic in and of itself. Oh, an important point that Puja Swamiji has asked me to mention is that as we were talking about the environment and our natural world, all proceeds from this encyclopedia, either from the side of the author, us, or the side of the publisher, Mandala, all proceeds are going to a project to clean and preserve the sacred rivers of India, which not only are places of worship to which we pray, for which we pray, but actually are the source of life, of drinking water, of bathing water, of cooking water, of water that irrigates the fields for the entire nation. And so in many ways, this is not only a project that serves India in terms of the wisdom it's giving, but a project that directly is utilizing all of the proceeds to go right back into the country to the service of the natural environment for the people of the country.
Very good. Do we have time for one more, Peggy? Yes, sir.
Mr. President, I'm Prakash Swami from the Press Trust of India, which is India's largest news agency. It's a fantastic job. You made the India and the Hindus proud with your participation. At a time when the Hinduism is being looked down upon, even countries like India and Nepal, this job of promoting the encyclopedia is a real welcome one. Secondly, many Indians come to know about their own religion outside India, especially in the US. As an extension of this, do you have any plans of opening a separate department which can teach Hinduism as a religion of non-violence and promoting world peace? Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for attending and coming all the way from New York. We are talking to people who can help us with this from a philanthropic point of view. We have, of course, professors in our Department of Religious Studies who cover Hinduism. We have, of course, in political science and in the arts, people who cover India, but we do not have a single dedicated scholar in this area, and we would love to think about raising the money with the community to have an endowment to be able to recruit someday in the near future, I hope, an endowed chair. Somebody who could be a true global expert who could come to South Carolina, and then from that we could grow. We could add other faculty. It's also important to note that these courses and this teaching would be immensely popular, not only with the Indian students we have, and I would like the media to know that students from India comprise the second largest ethnic bloc of all of the international students we have from around the world. But there's also a budding and growing interest in non-Indian students to learn more about the culture, to, again, spend a junior year or part of a junior year in India as well. So it would be a great desire and hope of this university to be able to work with the community to raise the funds that would make such a recruitment possible. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I think.
If you need any one-on-one interviews, feel free. If you would like to see the encyclopedia, we invite you to do that as well. Thank you.